Well, welcome to our Hour of Power. Super excited this morning. We've got the beautiful Judy King joining us. And I suppose we've known one another now for a couple of years, isn't it, Judy? When did you get started? I feel like I've known you for at least 2 years.
Yeah. It's been about 2.5 years since Curtis came into the business, and then I've been on the scenes for a long time.
Absolutely, no, which is exciting. So Judy's going to be talking to us this morning, and I just want to tell you a little bit about what Judy actually does. Judy King is at the leading edge of transpersonal psychology. She's a highly respected international high-performance transpersonal coach, master practitioner, and certified trainer in NLP. She facilitates NLP timeline therapy and hypnosis trainings, is an inspirational keynote speaker, group facilitator, and retreat leader. And we've got her all to ourselves this morning. Which is the transpersonal coach recognizes and works with one's calling, rooted at a casual level in the human DNA. It stands for something beyond the personal, beyond the material, and the everyday. Transpersonal coaching is critical for businesses, individuals, and the whole of humanity to build a connected world that mutually is beneficial and sustainable for everyone. Judy has spent 23 years as an influential force within the health and fitness industry, where she has reached the top echelon of the fitness world. She's dedicated her life to training in a cross-section of transformation modalities. She's done the work. She awakens people to identify their own unique magnificence, elevates them to new levels of consciousness in order to exceed the level of success they previously thought possible. A complete reinvention as they know it. And she's a Juice Plus chick. So, I mean, all of that together is a huge blessing for us. So, Judy, you have done the work. I've watched your journey, and having had a few conversations as well over the last few months with you, I can see that you've really ingrained what it is that you're going to be teaching this morning. So, we're so thrilled to be able to have you to share with our team. I am going to spotlight you now so that it'll be all about you. And I know that you have got a slide in that. So what we'll do is make sure that everybody sees it. Now, team, as we go along, if you've got any questions at all, put them into the chat, and I'll make sure that I relay them to Judy so that we can kind of, we can keep on track here. So over to you, beautiful lady.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Celine. It's such a privilege to be here. And truly, this next hour is actually all about you guys, not about me. So I want it to be super interactive, of course, with the chats and so forth, just so they know that you're staying with me and you're picking up what it is that I'm teaching, and that you're getting value from it, because that's my goal, so that you can start taking action and you can put it into place right now. So there's 3 things that I want you to firstly get. I call these the 3 gets as I'm sharing my screen. Basically, get your tools ready if you haven't got them already, your pens, your paper, and so forth, whatever else you need, maybe your coffee or some water or something as well. Good, all set. Then get rid of distractions. Anything that beeps, buzzes, vibrates, put that to the side. 1 hour for you to focus on you for your business. And then get yourself into state. I'm standing up. I like to move around, and this helps me to bring my A game. So whatever else you need to do to be able to put your A game on, do that. So if you're good to go, type yes, good to go in the chat box, and get the game on.
Brilliant.
Awesome. So I'm going to throw some questions at you just really quickly. How many of you complain about time or know people who do? Say yes, me, or know someone in the chat box.
I love it. Yes, me is coming up.
I'm seeing lots of chats popping up, so I'm guessing there's some. Yeah, good. Awesome. And how many of you have and still have difficulty with time management, or perhaps some others who have done time management programs and still find time a challenge? Any experience of that?
Yep.
Couple of no's, maybe some yeses. Good. Well, here's the thing. Time cannot be managed.
Amen.
Here's the thing. When we try to manage time, this is what we end up feeling. Frustrated. Sound familiar? Frustrated because you've got this plan in place and you've got it all structured out and you've got these things all scheduled in. You've got perhaps your 90-day game plan in place, and perhaps one thing leads to the other and it doesn't go to plan. So frustration kicks in. The other thing you start to feel like is like you're on the Ferris wheel, going around and around and around in circles. And perhaps, you know, you get up, go, yes, I'm going to recommit to my plan today, get yourself back on track, and then something left wing comes and throws, you know, things at you, and especially for those that have children, you know, spirit activity can do for your plan. And therefore, you know, you just feel like kind of on Groundhog Day, and then the next day and the next day and the next day, trying to either catch up or get back on track so that you're back on track on your plan. So it's this wheel going around and around in circles. And then the other thing is that you can get burned out and feeling like perhaps because you have a plan, because you have said that you're going to stick to something, that you end up working ridiculous hours, up late at nights, up early in the morning, whatever it is, and therefore kind of doing it hard. And when you're doing it hard and struggling and putting in all these hours, that definitely leads to burnout. Mm. So as I said, time is not something that can be managed, because time is infinite and it's also dynamic. And so this is where most people go wrong, is thinking that actually they can manage time. So the difference that I'm speaking about today is actually accountability management. And when you can start to manage your accountability, this will completely change the game. I'm going to talk into the benefits of when you focus more on accountability versus time management. So the first thing that happens is you start to discover more freedom. You've got more time. There's less struggle. There's less doing it hard and less of the, you know, the grinding away. And things become more in flow and easier. The second thing is it becomes a seamless operation. So rather than feeling like you haven't got it sorted, or you're on this, you know, the wheel that's going around, then it becomes really seamless and effortless and almost easy. Wow, who could think, right, that getting our plans done could be easy? And then, of course, then you have a breakthrough with time. And something that I'm going to be speaking a little bit about today is co-creation. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's kind of a bit of a buzz topic at the moment. It's something I'm so passionate about with working with the leaders that I work with and the go-getters and the high achievers that I work with, is time, and realize that actually what you can do is co-create the results that you want. Then this creates an incredible shift in how you operate and also the results that you're going to start to see. So I'm going to just quickly flick over to my iPad. So just bear with me a second while I do this. All these new cool fun technologies that we can throw in
nowadays, isn't it? Type into the chat, guys, who already has had a little bit of an aha. I don't know about anybody else. I've got my notebook here, my notes are going, and I've already had a little aha. So
yay, that's awesome. Okay, come on up. Not that one. Here we go here. So I'm going to draw a little bit of a diagram, a little triangle. You might like to draw this yourself if you like. And I want to check in with you. So there's 2 stages to be able to get to a real high level of accountability. So the lowest level is when we're unaware of ourselves being accountable or not. So there's a kind of like an undercurrent that we can't see. A lot of times we have these unconscious beliefs and these things that are running like an undercurrent that you can't see, and then therefore that's you're not awakened to, and you don't have an awareness of these things. So that's the first thing I want to speak about, unaware. The next thing that starts to happen is perhaps starting to blame others. Sound familiar? I've definitely right, you might be able to relate to this already. The next one is excuses. Excuses why we're not where we want to be, and of course, right, we can have reasons and excuses of why we're not where we are, or we can have results. We can't have both, and therefore help us with accountability. Then the next one is wait and hope. You know, hope kind of never really helped anyone, but we may be kind of taking the next leap forward, at least out of our excuses. And then, of course, the next level is awareness. So we actually start to wake up to what's going on and identify perhaps where are some things that we can change and shift. And then we have 2 more levels. The next one is own it, when you're totally owning it, owning your own accountability, taking responsibility for yourself, and you're really starting to come into your power. And then at the very top, we have find solutions and get on with it. So this is a little bit of an accountability ladder, I guess you could kind of call it. And what I want to check in with you guys right now is, where on this accountability ladder are you right now? And just that I'm not assessing you or judging you or anything like that. It's really for your own purposes to get something out of and an awareness of where you're at. So just type in the chat box, where are you at on the accountability ladder right now?
Excuses. I love it, Amber. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done. Good.
Easy to do, right? Because it's known, it's comfortable. It's a bit juicy to stay in the excuses. And there can be very valid excuses as well, right?
Yep. Well, this morning after my mentoring session, I have to say I'm now in awareness, and I realized that there was probably a little bit of waiting and hoping, wanting and hoping. so it's actually, it's cool. It's really cool. And I'm seeing here the above and below the line, the whole responsibility game thing actually playing out.
Yeah, totally. You can totally link it to that. Exactly. So basically anything, right? Anything below awareness. I mean, awareness is still getting there, right?
Yeah.
I could have probably put awareness in the green, but I'm going to be a bit tough today. and so ultimately, we want to be able to shift out of being right down here, either excuses or want and hope and so forth, and be able to shift you so that you can get the results that you want and ultimately move you, let's go there, up here. Nice big arrow in the green zone. Because the red zone, while it feels very comfortable and very known, it doesn't produce results, right?
Yep.
Cool. Awesome. Let me go back to the slide. Great. So now let's go into the 4 hot principles. So the first thing I want to go through is these 4 principles. So I'm going to just give you a bit of a big picture and then we'll jump down and go into the details. So the first thing we're going to look at is the personal time and boundaries. The second is being your word. The third is plan equals be versus do. So I'm going to dive in a little bit into what that means. Being versus doing. As I said, I'm very passionate about co-creation. In order to co-create results, it's a focus on who you're being rather than what you're doing. And I would probably say that majority of you, not all, but maybe the majority, focus a lot on what you're doing rather than how you're being in the doingness of what you're doing. We're gonna dive into that a little bit more. And then of course we've got the triangle there on the lower left hand corner, which shows the 3 areas of day-to-day workload. Then we've got allocated projects, and then we've got the disparate activity, which is a big killer in our business. So firstly, personal time and boundaries. So this is huge because it's kind of like the whole put your own mask on first before you help others.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, you know it too well of putting everyone else before yourself and therefore leaving yourself like what I've been a little bit this week. So again, work in progress, right? Even for myself, sometimes I'm out, sometimes I'm in. I always know that when I'm out, this is a big one to always check back in with. Are my personal boundaries, my personal time, is that in place or not? Because usually that's the first thing that goes when, the pressure and the workload comes on. So personal time and boundaries, when you don't have those in place, you'll actually never have freedom with time. And quite often what happens is we say, when this happens, when I get to this level, when I'm earning this much money, or when I'm here, there, wherever there is, then I'll do that thing, and then I'll do that thing, and then I'll take care of myself and so forth. But the then never happens. And so the time is now. The time is now to be able to put those boundaries in place. And as I say, you'll never have freedom when those personal boundaries are out. And so therefore they're critical, absolutely critical to have in place what it is that you said you're going to do, what it is that you're accountable for on a day-to-day basis. So I have a client who I was working with, her name's Shani, and she is incredible entrepreneur. She has a small business, and she's had people in her team before, but it hasn't kind of worked out. And so one of the things I've been working with her in the coaching process is to get her to harness talent and to build the talent in so that she's got the support that she needs. So she's not doing the hands-on, the basic kind of, she's in a marketing business, the real working stuff. She's better at the strategy. She's better at the big picture. So when she's really hands-on and doing all the work in her business, she just gets totally run down because, of course, there's so much workload and taking so much of it on. And when that's occurring, her boundaries are out because the workload is so high. And so one of the things we've worked on is no matter what, of course, hiring out and being able to use resource, access help, and let go of some of the responsibility. And therefore, in doing that, keeping those boundaries in place. So a couple of weeks ago, she rang me. She's like, I'm getting so sick. I feel so overwhelmed and so on. And I said, okay, so how's it going with implementing those systems and that structure that we mentioned? She's like, I haven't done it. I said, right, so what are you going to do right now? So first thing she did the next day was hired her project manager, which she'd said she was going to do it. And immediately, stress gone, like literally immediately. And then she started to bring her boundaries back in place because she'd freed up so much time. And so the thing is, with regards to personal boundaries, is 80% of chronic disease is caused by lifestyle-related issues. And so setting boundaries actually empowers you in that other direction, empowers you to actually have healthy statistics, which in this business, right, the Juice Plus business is all about health. And so those personal boundaries are so crucial, not only for your own health, but also to produce the kinds of results that you want. What are you taking away from what I've just shared so far? Is this landing?
Come on, team. Let's have a little shares in here. I know, absolutely. I know myself. If my boundaries are out of sync, if I'm allowing too much, it affects everything. It's not just business, it just affects absolutely everything. And I also find that that's when I will actually go into overwhelm and not do anything well.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Massive overwhelm.
So what's sharing, people? What are we finding so far?
Yeah, and maybe even sharing what are some of the things that you're noticing within yourself, personal time or personal boundaries that are out or do get out. And then maybe, at the end I'm going to get you to perhaps take some action, but even thinking about what is one or two things that you could do in this area that could make a huge difference in their morning ritual. Some people it's throwing in meditation or and then boundaries, right? A lot of people, leaders in this business, because there's a lot of team and people that want help and can be requesting a phone call or a three-way or whatever it might be, the more that we just keep saying yes, then of course our boundaries out. So sometimes it's actually saying no, not necessarily no forever, but maybe no right now, and scheduling that at a time that's more suitable and going to fit into the plan.
Totally. I agree totally, because I often will say to the team, just because you can work this business 24/7 doesn't mean you should.
That's right.
Like, my team, when I was in the field, they all knew my diary. They knew what my calendar was, when I was available for three-way calls, when I was available for training. They knew that my phone was off from 3:30 till about 7:00 of an evening time. That was when the kids were home. And they respected that. Nobody ever died. That's the thing. Sometimes we think we have to be. And social media has created that as well, I think, where we think we have to be always on. I love what Amber said. She decided to get up 2 hours earlier before her daughter wakes so she can get the most of her workload done. So she's actually making a choice to be able to do it at that time. So then she's actually able to be present for her daughter. And that Lee said about being keeping accountable, some of the going on. Yeah, well done.
Yeah, awesome. Great. So moving on. So next is be your word. So being your word is when ultimately you're being integrous with your word, with one's word. You will never transform your relationship with time and and the complaints of time unless you transform your relationship with your spoken word. Now, usually the biggest person that we let off the hook is ourselves. So we say to ourselves a lot of the time, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, or maybe I'm going to start working out, or I'm going to work out this many times a week, or do my morning ritual this many times a week, and then perhaps we don't. So we let ourselves off the hook. So not only, being integrous with your word with others, I think being integrous with your word with yourself is so, so important. And of course, it's a little not always as easy as it's said, but and therefore having some accountability and having the spoken word and communicating with others what your commitment is also helps to raise the bar. But being impeccable with your word is key. At the end of the day, how do you feel about someone when they say they'll do something and then they don't?
True.
Does it upset you? Get annoying, get frustrating? And then how do you feel perhaps when you don't keep your word to others, or if you don't keep your word to yourself?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Right, now, we're human beings, and so we're not perfect. It's okay to be human. But I think the biggest thing in integrity, of course, it doesn't mean that we're always going to be integrous with our word, but cleaning up, saying, communicating, I think that's one of the things that we don't perhaps do so well is where we are out, of course, as best as you can, be your word. But when you are out, that you come in and you go, you know what, I said I was going to do that and I didn't. And I'll either recommit or I'm not going to do that anymore. Yeah. And so what that helps to do is it's building the muscle, building the muscle of being integrous with your word. And that in itself is actually integrity, coming back and cleaning up. And integrity ends up becoming, being one's word is like a skyscraper. The steel beam, the infrastructure of a skyscraper, it's required for its survival. Yeah, it's those big beams and have a really solid plant to the ground. It's relying on that for its integrity, of the materials, and of course also the design. If the design and the materials are free from flaws and workmanship and so on, then the building can actually withstand forces of nature for centuries, right? And so this is what being your word enables you to be as well: grounded, solid, strong. One of my clients, Andy, he works in network marketing as well, and he's with his wife. And so when we started working together, he found that he wasn't getting the results that he wanted, and he wasn't clear around what his goals were, and he had certain tasks and certain things that he had, each day and so forth, but he would get some of those done, not all of those done. And one of the big things that we've been doing to work together is not only getting crystal clear clarity, but getting him to own what it is that he's saying that he's doing, getting him to, really commit to, these are the things that I'm committing to. And that's all we do. It's just all in a couple of weeks we check in, and those things that he said that he was going to do, it's on the plan, 100%. I'm doing those things. And this has completely changed the game for him. He's increased his monthly revenue by 10K a month. And it's simply been by just purely doing what he said he was going to do, being his word.
And it's so vital in our business though, Judy. I mean, we can overcomplicate our business, and at the end of the day, it's doing it's doing what we say that we're actually going to do.
Yeah.
And not kind of it's not even about setting outlandish goals. It's why, working with the grid, I'd rather see somebody put one genuine connection that they've made every day, consistently, and doing that, rather than saying, oh no, I'm going to speak to 10 people a day. And
yeah, definitely.
After 2 days, quit and not do it.
Exactly, yeah. Because as we know, it's about consistency, right? And yes, so like exactly what you said. I think sometimes we set these big goals out that sounds really awesome, which it does. However, can be a bit unrealistic and unsustainable. Yes. So the sustainability piece of what we say, even if it's like what Celine said, one thing or two things or three things in that day. If you go the night before, these are the 3 nuggets I need to get done today, and you do whatever it takes to get those 3 things done, it's a game changer.
Absolutely.
Be your word with those things. Good. What do you ladies and any gents that might be on here later watching the recording, what are you taking out of this conversation with Be Your Word? What's the biggest thing perhaps you can take out of this, or something that you can do moving forward to be more of integrous with your word?
Okay. Type into the chat, team, for those that knew that have joined us. I see some more people have joined us, so just type in any thoughts as you're going along in there so we can go. So Leah's saying committing to myself. Yeah, I thought that was really cool, actually. Oftentimes when we say be your word, we think about externally. We actually forget about one of the most important ones, which is being true to ourselves and keeping our own word. What else? Come on, there's been gold in here so far, team. Type in the chat there what you're doing. Here we go. Casey, be accountable to myself. Do what I say I will do. Amen to that. Well done. Good work. Thanks for the shares, people.
Yeah, love it, love it. Which is like a respect to self as well, isn't it? Respect ourselves as much as we would respect communicating something to others, feeling like we're letting ourselves down, like we would, you know, if you go to the gym and you have a buddy, even if you wake up and you're like, oh, I don't want to go today. If you've got that buddy there, you'll go, right? But you don't let your buddy down, but you might let yourself down. So, you know, it's just the value of yourself and respecting self as much as you respect someone else's time or someone else's commitment. It's huge, an absolute game changer.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Great. So next is plan, which is be versus do. I love this. So until you become, as we've spoken about, a full honourable team, you effectively work to plan. And if you don't effectively work to plan, then the results will be elusive and time will be your enemy. So there's three keys really in terms of planning. And the first one is start to shift your listening of planning. I know a lot of people, a lot of my clients that I've worked with, they have a like resistance against planning. And of course there's some that absolutely love it, but there are people out there, and you might be one of those people. I'm not sure. If you are, then this is for you. But basically it's feeling like when I plan, I'm constrained. This is the listening or the beliefs that are running like an undercurrent with certain people around planning. The thing is, there is no constraint with effective planning. It's just about being it actually leads to more effectiveness rather than constraint. And it's just a perspective. Yeah. Beliefs can be changed. You're not stuck with your beliefs forever. And just because you might have evidence from the past to say that they've constrained you, it's actually not the truth. Perhaps it's just you haven't found an effective way of planning. And of course, effectiveness with planning is key. And so there's lots of incredible ideas out there with how to be effective with your planning, which is kind of for another session. But ultimately, that effective planning leads to freedom, not constraint. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that you must link that effective planning to go along with honouring the spoken word, okay, that previous point. So the effective planning and honouring the spoken word, that's key. And then the third is, rather than doing your version of the plan, I kind of call that shape-shifting, yeah. Which is the doingness of the plan, which I'm going to get to in a moment. Doing, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. Got to work hard, got to do a gazillion hours and so forth, versus what we call co-creating the outcome. So when you're clear on what it is that you want, this month, 5 customers, or this month, 2 new team, whatever that goal is, when you're clear on that, and then the plan that you've set goes into that. So like Celine said, it's one person that you're speaking to a day at least, that you've reached out to, and that you've committed to the plan that's going to help support that goal. It's like letting go of the form. You know that when you're showing up and you're doing the activity that's required to produce those results, it's going to happen. So it's kind of letting go of the how it's going to happen and just taking action with the plan. And the co-creation is then focusing on who you're being while you're doing that activity. Sometimes we can be so stressed about, oh, is this person going to buy? And what is this person going to say? And, oh, I don't know what I'm saying. And, so we're too in our head. Internal dialogue that goes on is running its thing, and we're in this perhaps stressed state about it, or an anxious state about it, or frustrated, or just not present, not connected. And when we're fully connected with the now moment and we're having fun with it, we're way too serious and significant and dramatic, by the way. When we have fun, it's a fun business. It's amazing. And we're enjoying what we're doing and we're in that moment, then this creates an energy and a vibration that attracts those people to you. So you don't have to do it hard anymore. You can do it easy, which also might go contrary to people's beliefs. I know it went against my beliefs because I had the belief that you've got to work hard. You got to work hard for everything that you've got, which I picked up from my parents, most likely. And that it didn't come easy. And that you had to struggle and it's got to be a fight, because I've always been a fighter in my life. I've given dreams and I've fought back for it. I've given up on my dreams and I've fought back for it multiple times. So this was a huge shift that I had to make within myself to actually embrace who I was focusing more on, who I was being, than what I'm actually doing. And so let's take a look at what I mean by this with this model here. So when we're in the doingness state, we're disconnected. We're in our head. We're either in the past or we're in the future. This is what I mean by disconnected. We're not present. We're not in the now. So many of us live there, disconnected from ourselves, our emotions, and we're either in the past or the future. We're not here. And when we're either there or there, out there thinking, I've got to get to that level or I've got to get wherever, or in the past going, this person said no and this person said no and everyone's saying no to me, then it gets hard. It's a struggle. It's stressful. There's overwhelm and anxiety and pressure and frustration, no energy, right? The loss of vitality, therefore loss of power and in that state, versus stepping into being the state, which is fully connected. Fully connected. Now, connected, when I talk about connected, it might get a little bit spiritual on you here, but connected is connected to the source, whatever that is for you. So the universe, spirit, God, whatever, right? Whatever it is that you believe in that's bigger than yourself, you're connected to that. And the only way you can be connected to that is being present, being in the now. Not in the past, not in the future, but now. And when you're in the now, you're in the zone. Have you ever seen Wimbledon, the tennis players when they're the grand final, Roger Federer, when he's playing Wimbledon, is he thinking about the last point or the last game or the next game or the next set? Or is he just thinking about this point right now? Right? If he thinks about the last point, what happens to this point?
Yeah, it's gone.
If he lost the last point, then, and he takes that into this play, this point, this next serve or this next return, then he won't be connected. He'll be not present. He won't be in the zone anymore. He'll be in his head. And so he is so focused on this point, on this moment right now to produce the results that he wants. And that's what being in the zone is. If you've seen Finding Nemo, great movie, right? When the dad is swimming along trying to find Nemo and he's heading to Sydney and he meets up with the turtles. And the turtles are going through the slipstream. They're just cruising along. It's easy. But then the little baby turtle falls out of the slipstream and he's like, ah! And he's trying really hard to keep up and he's going upstream and he's like, ah! Right? And he can't keep up. This is what it's like when you're in the doingness state. Anyone relate to that?
Yeah. Yep.
I feel like, yeah. I got a few hands up. So this is not easy. And so what does he do? He goes back into the slipstream and it's easy. There he is. There's this cruises along. It's like that, being in the zone, being in flow, where it's easy and peaceful. And when we're there, when we're in that zone, we attract synchronistic opportunities. These people come to us like, wow, where did they come from? Oh. But see, the thing is, when we're in the disconnected state, when we live in the disconnected doingness state, we look for evidence. We're very evidence-based as human beings living in this realm. And so when we're looking for evidence of what the synchronistic opportunities might mean, perhaps because we're not looking for that as evidence that synchronistic things come, when we send out an energy and a vibration that comes back, I just think, oh, that's just a fluke, you know. But actually it's not. If you look for evidence that when I show up, when I'm being in the beingness state, when I'm fully connected, loving what I'm doing in the moment, know the past and know the future, that these things come to me, these opportunities come, these people, like my ideal client or my ideal teammate, you know, comes to me. Start to look for that evidence when you're operating in the beingness state, because they're there. So I want you to look for that new evidence. Whereas what normally happens is we just look for evidence of the negative stuff rather than positives. And when you look for the new evidence of when you show up differently, what attracts to you. And then that will help build the muscle of belief of what happens when you operate out of the beingness state and the connected state. And then what happens is you're resonating, you know, this energy. We're this physical body, right? But we're actually having a spiritual experience. And we're here spiritually as well. 90% of us is more spiritual than it is physical. And so what we do is we resonate, our energy resonates, and we manifest the results that we want. And then your goals come to you rather than you having to work so hard for them. It's like the leaf on the river. When the leaf on the river, you know, it goes along, it's got a path that maybe it can go down and it might go off course. I mean, that's okay. It hits a rock. Well, you know, when it hits the rock, does it say, oh no, I'm gonna give up now and I might just stay here? You know, it's kind of it might need to just wait there, and eventually the tide might rise or fall or whatever, and then it could just go over the top. It's kind of like that. It's equanimous. So we meet life as life meets us. We go along with the ebb and flow of life, which is a beautiful state to be in. Which state would you like to be operating out of more so? The doing the state, disconnected, or the being the state and connected? Which one sounds more juicy for you?
Absolutely. Actually, there's so many synergies between the fact that this month we're focusing on Gratitude Month and we're focusing on being grateful for, you know, what's going on in our lives. Because, you know, I spoke to it this morning, actually. We do spend so much time focusing on what's not right and what's not happening, instead of actually being, and in that being space and just being present. There's just such a beautiful warmness about that. There is a freedom. And when you were talking earlier on about the kind of, you know, the planning and that, I remember having a coaching call with one of our national marketing directors who just was so against planning anything because she wanted to be in the flow and whatnot. The fact was, because she didn't plan things, she wasn't in the flow because she was always in reactive space. Right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
This is so powerful, team. I hope you're taking your notes and that as well and listening. This is very, very powerful. We can have those different types of stories around being too planned and all the rest takes the fun out of it. Absolutely not. There's that difference. I love this be versus do model. So
yeah, it's key. It's key. If you're not planning, you don't have the structure, then it ends up being like floating around hoping for the best. And you know, the universe needs clarity. Co-creation needs clarity. When you're crystal clear on what it is that you want, what you're going out there to do. And I think sometimes the thing is that people, my client that I mentioned before, it was exactly like that. It's resistance to do the planning because she felt like a failure. She felt like if I don't do that plan that I said, then back to, and so she constantly felt like she was coming back to square one. But it's flexibility. The more flexibility you have with your plan, the better.
Yeah.
Because as I get to the next point, we're going to see things pop up, and that's okay. But if you don't have a plan, then you can't reshuffle it. And so I think it's just not being so like squeezing the plan, but knowing that the plan can move and shuffle. And of course, sometimes the plan has to change. There's no straight line towards our goals, right? It ends up looking more like this, and that's okay. And being able to be flexible with that is key. So what are you guys taking out of this? And let's say one of the big nuggets that you're taking out of this, and love to hear how if this is making sense as well.
Definitely making sense. type in here. We've got, what do we had? We had so committed to do the gratitude 28 days and pretend team trains, giving time to that and customer care. Loved how you explained that, Amber had said.
Thanks, Amber.
That's really cool. Committed to daily actions, Lee is. Well done. Good work. So, yeah, definitely starting to get. Anyone else?
How can you be, how can you shift in how you're showing up, perhaps? For an example, can you have more fun? Can you get more excitement? Can you be in the now, be more present, even when you're having a conversation with somebody? It's easy to get in our head and, go for what should I say and all those things. But when you really be with somebody, especially in conversation, really listen, that also helps to connect you in the now. Listening is a great skill to have.
I think when you're being as well, you actually are making it more about the other person too. They can feel that when you're actually being present. You get a much different result than when you are literally just doing because you've got to tick off that task. But when you are being, there's a whole different energy, like you said, that actually allows you to be more relatable even. Here. Casey's saying, do you think living deliberately is the key to success with time management?
Yeah, great question. Great question. So when you say living deliberately in terms of planning, having clear goals and having a plan, yes, definitely. Crystal clear clarity is the first thing. Inspirational goals and crystal clear clarity on what those goals are. And then, of course, a plan. It's kind of like if you choose to go on a holiday, what's the first thing that we do? Choose a destination, right? We don't just say, I'm going to go to the airport and jump on an airplane and hope for the best and get wherever I get to. I mean, you might have your cozies packed and you get to Iceland. Not ideal. And, of course, so it's that crystal clear clarity. And then okay, well, what's the first step? What do I need to do first? Well, book the flight, and then I might book accommodation, and I might plan schedule, and then I pack my bags, and I go to the airport. And so it's, having that first, where am I headed? And then, of course, right, well, what's the plan? If we didn't have a plan, I don't know how we'd end up where we end up. So it's kind of like that. And remember, the accountability of the plan, super key. Good questions. Good, keep them coming. All right, can we move on?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Great. So we're at the fourth phase here. And I'm going to flick over to my iPad again, so just a second. All right, good. So, oops. No, I want a new sheet. There we go. So we've got this triangle. You might like to draw this as well. And we've got 3 points here. You saw this a little bit earlier. Let's go. Okay. So we've got up here to workload. Right, you've got your day-to-day workload of things that you need to do on a daily basis, whether that be work and, of course, whether that be parenting or whatever else that is that you've got on. On the left-hand side here, we've got allocated projects. Obviously, depending on the business that you're in and what level you're at in the Juice Plus business, that's maybe higher or maybe lower. And then over here, you've got the disparate activity. And then basically this ends up being a bit of a cycle that goes on inside here. Now, a high percentage of people have their day-to-day activity that they need to manage. And then, of course, as well, the allocated projects down here. And then they have the things that come left wing, which end up being these things here, the disparate activity. So if if your team rings you and said, oh, I need you to jump on a call, that could be a disparate activity, but it's not part of the day-to-day workload that you plan for that day. Or it could be get distracted. Maybe you're in one of the groups and you're kind of starting to network and meet people, but then you get distracted on Facebook and you start watching cats and dogs and, you know, doing their thing. And so it ends up being this disparate activity where we get drawn into. It's so easy to do because, you know, when we're on these phones, it becomes very trance-like. We're in this trance state, addictive as well. And so easily time can go. Time just gets taken away with us. And so as a result of this occurring, they never experience effectiveness with their time and then, of course, with their results.
Mm. And
the breakthrough is actually, like I mentioned before, learning to say no, not today. Let's schedule that in. Learning to stop the unconscious patterns and the habits that we get stuck into. Could be wake up first in the morning, get on the phone. What happens? Half an hour, gone. Right?
Yeah.
I turn my phone off overnight, and first thing I do when I wake up is either do my meditation or I work out. I don't even touch the phone. If I do, I know I'm gone. An hour can be wasted. So it's just applying certain strategies that will enable you to commit to, that will help change the game for you in terms of not allowing this disparate activity to throw your day out, and just to suck up the time. And then, of course, learning to say no, as I said. The next is then working to plan, right, with that day-to-day activity. If you've got your schedule, so I have my schedule all planned out for the day. I know what time, then I have scheduled time for that. If it's downtime to check out Facebook, then that's scheduled. So everything is scheduled because I've got clients in and I've got, you know, other things I've got in my business. And so that's all completely planned out. Now, does it sometimes get thrown out? Yeah, of course, I've got a 3-year-old daughter as well. Sometimes she's like, no, mummy, don't work today. No work. And I'm like, she needs me, you know, like, okay, I'm going to spend 15 minutes of focus time with her right now, you know, so, but it's that flexibility. Or, of course, you know, saying no, I've got this, I've got needs to do, always hard to do with the kids. And then, of course, to be your word, combination of all of that. Otherwise, all the planning process will completely fall down.
Yeah.
And what I would recommend is conducting of where do you spend your time? What am I doing with my day? How much time do I waste? How much time do I spend fluffing around or committing to other things that are actually disparate activity? They're over here and they're not something that was actually part of the project, or they weren't part of the day-to-day workload that I had planned already.
Mm. Love it.
And so when you can minimize this, again, freedom, so much more time without trying, you know, without trying to think, oh, I've got to minimize on time here. And then, of course, there's, I've also got, which I don't have time for today, is 20 top guaranteed success objectives for being accountable. So that's like a whole nother, probably an hour, but let me flick back to this. Great. So what are you taking out of this key point here with data activity, perspectivity, and allocated projects? What are you taking away? What's one thing that you could do differently with your day, or an action that you're going to do moving forward?
Type in there, guys, what you're thinking yourself. I love it when people see my my schedule sometimes. There's mine. I don't know if you can see it, kind of thing, but that just gives you a little bit of an idea.
Nice.
I plan everything. But that came from having 3 little children when I was building my business. And so if whatever it was, it just came down to that. And it has served me well over the time. But Lee is saying to plan more. She's going to do that. Casey is going to schedule your day better. Awesome. Amber, I'm going to analyze my day to see where I'm putting my time and plan properly. Absolutely. Great. Fantastic. And again, I know you talked about it there as well, Judy, just, you know, things like getting lost on the phones, getting lost on social media, you know, the
Yeah.
emails, close them down. If you're not working on that project, you must close them down so that you're not tempted to kind of jump on or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, notice how many times we just go to the phone when, for what?
Yeah, another
Becomes,
Casey's got a question here. When starting out in business, how much time do you think needs to be designated to build a business? Is there a set amount of necessary time or just whatever suits each person individually? Casey, how long's a piece of string, darling? Absolutely. It really is coming down to the pace in which you want to build, the other stuff that's going on in your life. And again, though, if you were to honestly and truthfully, if you were to apply just what Judy has just spoken about here around even that triangle, looking and doing a little bit of an audit on where your time is, you know, what is actually getting spent on the day-to-day activity in your business, like the connections, you know, the allocated projects, you know, really maybe your customer care or whatever like that. And then really, where do you find what percentage of your day goes to this disparate activities? Most of us, and I know myself, even when I do a time audit, whatever's happened is other people's agendas have gotten in the way and there's more time going into, you know, that kind of left-wing stuff instead of actually what is getting the job done. So really and truly, this doesn't take a lot of time to build a successful business. It just takes consistent time and the planning, exactly what Judy has been talking about.
yeah, that's right. And again, it's just about, it's not about time, right? Which is why I'm communicating here. It's more about effectiveness of the time, the use of the time.
Amen.
If you're effective and you go in 15 minutes or 30 minutes and you connect with 5 people or speak to one person, share one video about the business or whatever it is, how, you know, you can do that. Boom, 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 boom. It doesn't need to take much time at all. Yeah. And if you're making those great connections, then then you maybe spend 10 minutes on follow-up or whatever it is, right? It's just...
Yeah, it's vital.
It's time, how effective you are with that time.
Absolutely. Nicole has scheduled some basic, like a ritual, and Amber is not going to get on my phone in the mornings. Well done.
Oh, you just froze, Celine, but you're back, so all good. Great.
Cool. I was just reading out. Amber said she's not going to get on her phone in the morning.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. That's such a good one to commit to. Truly, truly. It'll change the game for you. Just one thing. And start off with you, your personal time, personal boundaries. Out of those 4 things, so I'll do a quick review and then just share personal time and boundaries, be a word, plan, be versus do, more of the being versus doing, and then day-to-day activity, spread activity, allocated projects, which is obviously a plan. All of them. Choose one, Amber. Start with one. I don't want to overload you, right?
High achiever, you.
Good. Planning days better. Yeah. Good. Fantastic. Dated activity.
Awesome. Really cool.
Good. And then 3 things that you need to change here in that area that you listed. What are 3 things that you can change that you can start tomorrow or today even?
Having a good day schedule. Well done, Nicole. That's awesome.
What's your commitment? This can be a commitment that you...
This is where the accountability, this is where the rubber hits the road.
Daily demo, yes.
Awesome. Good work. Good work. Phone.
Down my phone, gratitude practice every morning. Good.
Awesome.
And say no to people, Deb. Woo! Yes. I love that one.
With love. Love it. Love it. Love it. Good work.
Excellent. Good. Spoke about Shani, Andy. Good. Pretty much got that. Yeah, so, at the end of the day, accountability, I'll just kind of wrap it up here, it is the glue that ties the commitment to the results.
Yeah.
And I talk a little bit about physics, or maybe not, maybe we'll just have a little bit of fun here, but there's a thing called momentum. And you might have heard of the compound effect or the domino effect, or I like to call it the snowball effect. And then you can actually start out with a snowball that's just, the size of a 5-cent piece. Little snowball, this big. But because of physics and of momentum and the compounding force, bam, that snowball can actually take down another snowball that's 50% bigger than itself, right, as it's rolling down and starting to build momentum. Bam. So what does that mean? Well, by starting with this something just, this big, that you can actually get to the 15th one and build this momentum. And by the time you get to that 15th one, you can actually take down something that's 5 foot tall and 50 kilos. It's kind of crazy, right? Yeah. Now, if you keep compounding from that space, you can actually take down Eiffel Tower. And then we all have that kind of Eiffel Tower goal out there in the distance, whether that be achieving NMD or achieving a certain amount of income per month, or maybe a personal goal, health goal, fitness goal, relationship goal, whatever it is. We have these visions that we want to accomplish in our life, and sometimes they seem so big and they seem like the Eiffel Tower. And you think, how am I ever going to get there? How am I ever going to achieve that? Where do I start? Would you like to know where to start?
Yes.
Yeah, well, you just start with the smallest part, like the steps that you've just verbalized today, those commitments. It's like starting with a small snowball, the smallest step, and you put all of your energy into that and all of your effort into that, of course, from a place of being, not from struggle and hard work. And then that small step leads to the next step, and then it's become 50% bigger, and then the next one, and it just keeps compounding with that momentum. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, you're halfway there, and the Eiffel Tower is right there, you can see it. And then, of course, when you, and then you can kind of look back and you go, wow, look what I've been able to accomplish so far. And then before you know it, you take down Eiffel Tower goal, and you've allowed the force of momentum of those seemingly small, seemed insignificant steps to build on each other so that you can accomplish your goals and your dreams.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
It's awesome. So, Judy, I know that Ben is going to be sharing in the newsletter an offer that you have as well, just some more information and that. Do you want to speak to that for a sec as we quickly wrap up?
Yeah, sure. I have an incredible program called 50 Days to Reinvent Your Mindset. It launches on the 15th of September, so it's coming up in a couple of weeks. And it's 9 weeks. And we dive into a different topic each week. And it's truly about helping people like yourselves to overcome the things that are lying underneath, the undercurrents, the beliefs that are holding them back, the fears that are stopping them, what I call the default identity. We've got this default that we can be triggered back to, which is disempowered. We come from fear. We feel not good enough, or feel useless, or not worthy, or feel stupid, whatever it is. And so we identify what that is. And then when I work with, this is for women only. I do one-on-one coaching with men as well, but this group is for women only. And together we set some really big goals. It's for people that want to play a big game and want support and accountability in the process of doing that, so that they can overcome that inner critic that goes off and really enable them to come to power to produce the results that they want. It's absolutely incredible 9 weeks, and it's all online, one webinar a week, and then a group, Facebook group for online support and coaching through the group as well. So if it resonates, or if you want to have a conversation, then reach out and we can have a chat and see if it's a good fit for you or not.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, that was brilliant. So make sure that you check out the information. It's going to be into our newsletter and in our Facebook groups as well as the replay, because I know for many of you, if you were like me and you were running out of page in your room, or you made your triangle in the first instance way too small, you might want to go over and start to write out again. There was heaps and heaps of gold in there. Judy, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, my pleasure. It was fun.
All the way from Malaysia. Where are you based at the moment?
Bangkok.
Bangkok, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Bangkok. So yeah, so not just down the road, team. And that's thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. So
pleasure, guys.